Donna Edwards, aloofness from the details of local problem solving, notorious for inattention to constituent services. UDP is responsible for the content of this ad.
That was an ad made and paid for by the United Democracy Project, a super PAC belonging to Aipac, the pro-Israel lobbying group. It was one of many attack ads made against former Democratic Congresswoman Donna Edwards during her recent primary run to try and reclaim her old Maryland House seat. On Tuesday, Donna Edwards lost badly to a much lesser-known former state attorney for Prince George's County, Glenn Ivey. Now, how did Donna Edwards, who was endorsed by Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, plus 11 local and national labor unions, the Progressive Caucus, and Emily's List, lose this race? A lot of it had to do with dark money, and more dark money. Her race was one of the most expensive congressional primaries in history, with nearly all of the money coming from outside groups, including that AIPAC super PAC, the United Democracy Project. They spent $6 million on attack ads in that race just since mid-June. Other pro-Israel groups pitched in about $1 million more. But these ads, funded by pro-Israel lobbying groups, by and large don't even mention Israel in the ads. And most are funded by Republican millionaires and billionaires. Now, I should mention here that we've reached out to AIPAC for comment, have not heard back. But my next guest, Democratic Congressman Andy Levin of Michigan, knows what this is like all too well. The United Democracy Project has already spent more than $2 million in attack ads against him in Michigan's Democratic primary race for the 11th district, where he is up against fellow Democratic incumbent Haley Stevens. Congressman Levin joins me now. Thank you for coming on the show. Let me get right to it. You are Jewish. Why is a pro-Israel lobby group using a super PAC and dark money to try and defeat you in a Democratic primary?
I'm not just Jewish, Mehdi. I'm one of two former synagogue presidents in the Congress, along with Senator Jackie Rosen. I've got mezuzot on all my doors. I'm really Jewish. But AIPAC can't stand the idea that I am the clearest, strongest Jewish voice in Congress, standing for a simple proposition that there's no way to have a secure democratic homeland for the Jewish people unless we achieve the political and human rights of the Palestinian people. That's it. Last I checked, that was the policy of every Democratic and Republican administration pre-Trump of this country. But AIPAC's completely gone off the rails, and they are trying to end my career because I won't fall in line with their view of what it means to be pro-Israel.
And of course, Donna Edwards, who lost in Maryland, she spoke out earlier this week, rejecting, accusations of anti-Semitism simply because she wanted to defend Palestinian rights. You mentioned yourself, you're a former synagogue president, much harder to accuse you of being an anti-Semite. What's interesting to me is that AIPAC is running these ads, or Super PAC is, and the ads don't mention Israel, which is what AIPAC's supposed to be all about. What gives?
Yeah, it's extremely troubling, Mehdi. You've got to go beyond this instance and think what this means if the Democratic Party allows Republican billionaires to come in here and dominate Democratic primaries. It can go well beyond Israel. Every right-wing cause can come in and spend money to curate who they want running the Democratic Party, being elected as a Democrat to the House or Senate. And the fact that I'm a flat-out champion for Medicare for all, a champion for the Green New Deal, and so active on progressive causes, I'm one of 80-some people who voted to reduce military spending recently. And they don't, these Republican billionaires don't want somebody like me in Congress. They funnel the money through AIPAC, and we're going to be in big trouble as Democrats if we allow this to happen to our party.
You mentioned Republican billionaires. Given the United Democracy Project, this AIPAC super PAC takes money from Republican donors. Given AIPAC itself has endorsed for re-election many of those House Republicans who voted to overturn the election on January the 6th, should your Democratic opponent, Congresswoman Stevens, be denouncing and repudiating their support for her? Should all Democrats be calling them out and rejecting their involvement in Democratic primaries?
All Democrats should. I rejected funding from any group that also backs Republican insurrectionists. Mehdi, AIPAC is not just backing Republicans. They're backing Jim Jordan, Ronnie Jackson, Scott Perry, even the Loudermilk guy who was giving tours to insurrectionists on January 5th. So yes, my colleague Haley Stevens should reject the influx of money from Republican mega donors, which is corrupting our primary. And really, all of us should, for the sake of the Democratic Party and for us to be able to determine our own candidates and our own future.
And is there anything that can be done to deal with this wave of dark money that has been poisoning American politics since the Supreme Court Citizens United decision in 2010? We don't hear much about campaign finance reform from top Democrats these days.
Yeah, well, we could do a lot. But first, let me just tell your viewers that, Summer Lee bucked this tide in Pennsylvania 12. Jamie McLeod Skinner in Oregon 5, Andrea Salinas in Oregon 6, and I'm going to buck the trend in Michigan's new 11th district. One thing we are going to do is just completely wipe them out in the old-fashioned Democratic practice of citizens talking to citizens. People, we are knocking so many doors, making so many calls, and we're specifically calling out this idea of right-wing billionaires coming to dominate our politics. Yeah. And, let's give your viewers some specifics here. I mean, we're talking about Bernie Marcus, the union-busting co-founder of Home Depot, putting in $1 million. Paul Singer, the hedge fund guy who helped destroy middle-class jobs at AT&T. And Haaretz just uncovered that WhatsApp founder Jan Koum doubled those guys and put in $2 million to Aipac Super PAC. This is someone who's donated to right-wing causes, and we just can't have it. So, yes, we could do a lot about campaign finance reform, even under Citizens United, and we should.
Are you saying the Home Depot billionaire guy doesn't care about Democratic Party causes? Come on, Congressman, that's unfair. Former Congresswoman Donna Edwards tweeted out after her loss this week, my take, the world is not a better place when people who believe in peace and human rights are crushed. How hard is it, Congressman, for elected Democrats to call out human rights abuses in places like the Israeli-occupied territories or in Saudi Arabia, when those countries are our allies and when there are so many lobby groups, think tanks, willing to go to bat on their behalf, run primary ads against people like yourself?
Well, Mehdi, I just do it anyway. I mean, I have been one of the members of the Egypt Human Rights Caucus. I have spoken up against the what happened in Kashmir. I speak up for ending the occupation so Israel can live in peace with a Palestinian neighbor. And we just have to do the hard work to make that happen. I've called for the end of the U.S. collaborating with Saudi Arabia in its war and blockades in Yemen. And I guess it gets you some enemies, Mehdi, but I'll tell you something, brother. It is not worth winning some office or having some title and not doing what's right. We always have to stand up and do what's right, which means human rights for everybody here and around the world, reproductive rights for women here in the United States, and anybody who can have a baby, and all the other rights they're coming for. I'm just going to stand up for them, and I think the voters of Michigan's new 11th district will see through this onslaught. But it is overwhelming, Mehdi. You cannot turn on a television or open your phone and not see ads paid for by Aipac and the others. You just can't.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. Congressman Andy Levin, thank you for your time today.
You've got it. Take care.